What's your message here?
Well, I think that border security is directly related to drug trafficking, and that's whether or not you're on the southern border or whether or not you're a state like Alabama. What we've seen is significant amounts of controlled substances enter our state coming across the border from Mexico. We've seen a Sinaloa cartel be very engaged in the trafficking aspect going on in our state, and what we've seen are those that are arrested for trafficking, a disproportionate of those are here in this country illegally.
Yeah, now that is one of our questions. You're from Alabama. Well, why did they think your input was necessary here at the White House?
I think we see the consequence of this as well. We have been able to identify through our own undercover operations as well as multiple prosecutions the impact of the cartel in our state, those that have entered this country unlawfully that are part of the distribution of these controlled substances, and it continues to be an issue for us.
How do we move forward? I mean, are you bringing suggestions to the table? Or are you doing a lot of listening?
Well, I think we're here to be able to support, number one, the President's initiative, that being able to secure the border is going to allow for law enforcement resources to be targeted in a way that's able to help. And what we also know is that when we are able to free law enforcement from worrying about one issue, then we can concentrate resources in another. And I think that's particularly being able to look at our ports of entry and increasing our seizures in that area.
Yeah, now what do you make of him going it alone, doing this national emergency declaration? Do you think that's the way he should be doing it?
Well, I think that's the only option that Congress has given him, to be able to make sure that he can secure the money to be able to build the wall that secures that border, and we want to be able to support the President's efforts in that regard.
Do you believe it's a national emergency?
Absolutely believe it's a national crisis, and we need the President to act when Congress won't.
What about an emergency? Do you think it's a national emergency?
I think it's absolutely an emergency.
Have you seen the evidence of this national emergency?
Well, I think we see it exactly in Alabama. When we look at the loss of lives from overdose, when we see the increase of methamphetamine in our state, and we've been able to determine through the use of our drug task forces the multiple cartels that have an influence in our state, absolutely believe that Alabama is affected just like other states in the country.
So a physical border, can you talk about the impact that will actually have on the state of Alabama?
I think, again, we want to be able to not only stop illegal drugs that are crossing the border outside of the ports of entry, but also those that are involved in drug trafficking that enter in this country in that same way. Both aspects of that problem will be solved or at least lessened as a result of securing the border.
What do you hope comes of this meeting today? What do you hope to bring home to the folks in Alabama?
Yeah, I think number one, we want to be able to make sure the President understands what we're facing back home, and I think that will encourage him to be able to continue this fight. And beyond that, want to be able to send a message on behalf of law enforcement that we know that drug trafficking is directly connected to what we're doing to secure our borders, and also don't forget that drug trafficking is directly related to violent crime, and we've seen evidence of that in Alabama as well.